After my wife's funeral, I believed my daughter would be my last source of strength. I was 72, exhausted, grieving, and standing alone beside the coffin after 48 years of marriage with my wife. But as I watched my daughter that day, her dry eyes, her impatience, the way she kept checking her watch, I felt something colder than grief rising in my chest. I told myself I was just imagining it. But when my phone buzzed and a message came from my wife's closest friend, "Don't trust your daughter. You are the next target." Just a few short words left me frozen. And what I discovered after that didn't just change everything I knew about my daughter. It forced me to make a life or death choice. I'm so grateful you're here. Honestly, the fact that you're taking the time to listen to an old man's story, that means more to me than you know. Before we begin, leave a comment and let me know where you're watching, from what city, what country. I want to know who's walking this journey with me. And just a quick heads up, what you're about to hear contains fictionalized details woven in for storytelling and reflection. Any similarity to specific names or places is unintentional, but the lessons I hope to share, those are worth holding on to. I am Douglas Callahan, 72 years old. And I just buried Charlotte, the woman who stood beside me for 48 years. At her funeral, while I stood by her casket, my daughter did something that turned my blood to ice. The chapel smelled of lilies and rain. Hillside Memorial, just off the main road in Asheville, North Carolina. February cold seeped through the walls. Outside, a slow drizzle tapped against the stained glass windows. Inside, maybe 40 or 50 people filled the wooden pews. Neighbors, old friends, co-workers from the accounting firm where Charlotte spent 35 years balancing other people's books. I stood near the front, next to the polished oak casket. Charlotte looked peaceful, too peaceful. Her face had been smoothed by the mortician's hand, her silver hair arranged just so. But something about her expression felt wrong. Not like sleep, more like absence. Like whoever she had been had already left, and what remained was just a carefully arranged shell. I remembered her face from our wedding day, 1976. She wore a cream-colored dress and held daisies. Her smile could light up a room. That smile stayed with me through 48 years of mortgages and holidays and ordinary Tuesdays. And now it was gone. The whispers drifted around me, soft voices trying to be kind. Poor Doug. What will he do now? Such a tragedy. She was only 70. I heard it was cancer. Or maybe her heart. I said nothing. Just stood there, hands folded, staring at the woman I loved. Or used to love. Or still loved. Grief has a way of tangling everything together until you cannot tell one feeling from another. Then I looked up and saw my daughter. Tiffany stood near the guest book greeting people as they entered. She wore a black dress. Expensive. The kind you see in magazines. Her makeup looked flawless. Hair pulled back in a sleek bun. She smiled gently at each visitor, nodding, accepting their condolences with quiet grace. But her eyes were dry. Not red, not puffy, not even damp. I have built houses for 50 years. You learn to notice details when you are a contractor. A crooked door frame, a crack in the foundation, a nail driven at the wrong angle. And right then, I noticed something about my daughter that made my chest tighten. She looked impatient. Helen Patterson shuffled up to Tiffany. Helen lives 2 doors down from us. 82 years old with a cane and a habit of baking casseroles for every occasion. She was crying openly, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "Oh, Tiffany," Helen sobbed. "Your poor mother. I just cannot believe she is gone." Tiffany touched Helen's arm. Her voice was soft, controlled. "Mom wouldn't want us to fall apart, Helen. She would want us to be strong. For Dad." Helen nodded and moved on, and then I saw it. Tiffany glanced at her watch. Just a quick flick of her wrist. But I caught it. She was checking the time at her mother's funeral. Later during the eulogy, Tiffany stood at the podium and spoke about Charlotte, about how loving she was, how devoted to family, How much she would be missed. At one point, Tiffany paused and pressed a tissue to her eyes. I watched closely. The tissue came away dry. My daughter was performing, and I was the only one who seemed to notice. The service ended. People filed past the casket one last time. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it. But the screen showed an unfamiliar number. Then a text message appeared. Come outside, northeast corner, now, alone. Dr. Linda Reeves. Linda, I had not heard that name in years. She and Charlotte went to college together, stayed friends for a while. Then life happened and they drifted apart. I had no idea Linda was even here. I slipped out a side door. The drizzle soaked through my jacket. The air smelled like wet pavement and wood smoke. My phone rang immediately. Linda's voice came through sharp and urgent. Doug, I found something. Evidence. You need to come to my office tonight. Linda, It's late. The funeral just ended. Listen to me carefully. Do not tell Tiffany. Do not tell Derek. You might be in serious danger. My breath caught. Oh, what are you talking about? Not over the phone. My lab. 847 Lexington Avenue downtown. Come alone. Park 2 blocks away. And Doug. She paused. Do not trust your daughter. You are next. The line went dead. I stood there in the rain, shaking. Not from cold. From something else. Something I could not name yet. When I went back inside, my shirt clung to my skin. People were gathering their coats, saying their goodbyes. I spotted Tiffany and Derek in the far corner whispering. Her husband stood behind her, hand on her shoulder. He looked bored, restless. I pretended to admire a flower arrangement and moved closer. Tiffany's voice was low but sharp. He just stood there like a statue for an hour. Derek's reply came flat and unconcerned. Relax, he is in shock. That is normal. He needs to stay in shock. You have to make sure he signs those papers this week, Derek. Before the official will reading. This week. He won't even know what he's signing. The old man is clueless. Clueless. Papers. What papers? I stepped back before they could see me. My mind raced. Linda's warning. Tiffany's impatience. Derek's dismissal. The phrase kept circling in my head. The old man is clueless. And then I remembered something else. Something Charlotte said in the hospital 3 days before she died. Her voice barely a whisper. Trust Linda, promise me, Doug. I had promised. But I did not understand. Not until now. I looked across the room at my daughter. Really looked at her. She was smiling again, shaking hands with the pastor, playing the role of the grieving daughter. And for the first time in 48 years of being a father, I felt afraid of my own child. The drive home was silent. Derek behind the wheel. Tiffany beside him. I sat in the back seat of my own car like a child being escorted home. And that was when I started remembering. The house waited for us at the end of Maple Grove Road. 1847. 2 stories. Craftsman style. Charlotte and I built it together in 1978. We hammered every nail, laid every floorboard, planted the rose garden out front. 46 years of life pressed into wood and stone. Now it felt like a stranger's house. Derek parked in the driveway. Tiffany got out first. She walked ahead without looking back. I climbed out slowly, my knees stiff from sitting too long. The porch light flickered. Inside, the air smelled like dust and old furniture. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt right. Charlotte's reading glasses sat on the side table, folded neatly. Her favorite coffee mug rested on the kitchen counter. Blue ceramic with a chipped rim. She always said she would replace it. Never did. Through the window, I could see the rose garden bare and skeletal in February. Tiffany turned to face me. Dad, you should sit down. Her voice was soft, concerned. But I caught something underneath. Impatience. Like she was reading lines from a script. I sat in the armchair by the fireplace. The cushion still held the shape of Charlotte's body. She spent hours there reading mystery novels and drinking tea. Derek appeared with a cup. Steam rose from the surface. Chamomile, it'll help you relax. I stared at the cup. Something inside me whispered, do not drink that. I set it on the table without tasting it. Tiffany pulled a green folder from her bag. Thick, official-looking. She sat across from me and opened it carefully. Dad, we found some papers Mom prepared. She wanted us to handle things for you. She slid the folder across the coffee table. The top page had a bold title, Power of Attorney. I picked it up. Legal language filled the page. Dense paragraphs. Terms I did not recognize. Near the bottom, a yellow sticky note marked the spot. Sign here. What is this? Tiffany leaned forward. Her expression was gentle. Too gentle. It's so we can manage the estate, pay bills, handle accounts, just like Mom wanted. I read further. Phrases jumped out at me. Full decision-making authority. Liquidation of assets. The liquidation, Derek spoke quickly. Just legal language. Makes everything easier. Tiffany added. It includes the right to sell the house. My chest tightened. Sell our house. Tiffany's voice softened. She reached for my hand. I pulled back. Dad, it's too big for you now. All the maintenance. Mom didn't want you to be burdened. Your mother never said that to me. Not once. A crack appeared in Tiffany's mask. Her jaw tightened. Dad, you're forgetting. We talked about this last month when Mom was in the hospital. No, we did not. Derek leaned forward. His tone shifted. Sharper now. You were exhausted, Doug. Stressed out. Her illness wore you down. You're misremembering. Misremembering. The word sat between us like a stone, and then my mind pulled me backward. 8 months ago. June of 2023. Charlotte mentioned feeling tired. I suggested a weekend trip. She declined. Said she had too much work. I thought nothing of it. 7 months ago. July. Tiffany and Derek moved in. They arrived with suitcases and boxes and smiles, just to help out Dad. Mom needs care. I was grateful. Charlotte seemed relieved. 6 months ago. August. Charlotte's hair started falling out, clumps in the shower drain. I found her crying in the bathroom. The doctor said it was stress. Prescribed vitamins. Sent us home 5 months ago. September. Charlotte's hands trembled. She could not hold her coffee mug without spilling it. I tried calling Dr. Morrison. The receptionist told me Tiffany had transferred Charlotte's records to a new specialist. I never met that specialist. 4 months ago. October. Charlotte pulled me aside. A rare moment alone. Tiffany and Derek had taken Ivy to the park. Doug, I feel like I'm being contaminated. I thought she meant the medication. The side effects. Sweetheart, that's just the pills talking. She looked at me. Her eyes were hollow. Scared. Promise me something. If anything happens, trust Linda. Promise me. I promised, but I did not understand. 3 months ago. November. Charlotte lost 20 pounds. Her cheekbones jutted sharp beneath pale skin. Tiffany was always nearby, always cooking, always helping, always there. 2 months ago. December. Charlotte tried to warn me again. We were alone in the bedroom. She gripped my wrist. Promise me. Trust Linda. Don't trust Tiffany. She knows. I thought she was delirious. The morphine. The pain. I stroked her hair and told her to rest. 1 month ago. January. The hospital. Charlotte's final hours. Her last words whispered through cracked lips. Trust Linda. Don't trust Tiffany. She knows. And then she was gone. I pushed those words away. Told myself it was paranoia. Medication-induced confusion. Until tonight. Now sitting in my living room with my daughter staring at me, Those words echoed like thunder. I shoved the folder back across the table. No, I'm not signing anything tonight. Tiffany's face changed. The softness vanished. Her eyes went cold. Derek stood, tall, broad-shouldered, looming. Doug, don't make this difficult. I stood as well. 72 years old. But I spent 50 years swinging hammers and hauling lumber. My hands were still strong. I'm 72, son. That doesn't make me stupid. It makes me cautious. I don't sign things I don't understand. And I know Charlotte never asked me to sell our home. Tiffany's voice turned sharp. You're being paranoid. I need time, alone. Good night. I walked into the bedroom and locked the door behind me. The room was dark. Charlotte's side of the bed still smelled like lavender, her pillow untouched. I lay down fully clothed, staring at the ceiling, and then I heard them through the wall. Tiffany's voice, sharp and vicious. The old man is going to ruin everything. We need to move faster. Derek's reply was muffled, but Tiffany's next sentence came through clear as glass. Tomorrow morning, the coffee, double the dose. I lay there, heart pounding, mind racing. Linda was right. Charlotte tried to warn me, and now I understood. They were trying to take everything, and they had already taken Charlotte. At midnight, I made a decision. If I stayed in that house, I would die. I lay in bed, fully clothed, listening. Upstairs, the floorboards creaked. Then silence. Derek's snoring rumbled through the ceiling. Steady, deep. Tiffany's lighter breathing followed a moment later. They were asleep. I moved carefully, changed into dark jeans and a black jacket, pulled on my work boots, the kind with steel toes, thick soles, good for climbing. My phone sat on the nightstand, still plugged into the charger. I left it there. If they checked, they would think I was asleep. Safe. Unaware. The front door was out of the question. Digital lock. It would log the time. They would know. The back door squeaked. Too close to the living room. Too risky. That left the bathroom window. Ground floor. Faces the backyard. No alarm. I installed that window myself 20 years ago. Oiled the hinges last spring. It would open quietly. I slipped into the bathroom and closed the door. Moonlight filtered through the frosted glass. I unlocked the latch and pushed. The window swung open without a sound. Cold air rushed in. I gripped the sill and pulled myself up. My knees protested. My back ached. But 50 years of construction work built muscle memory. I twisted sideways and slid through. The drop was 3 feet. I landed in mud. The backyard smelled like wet grass and dead leaves. The rose bushes loomed dark and skeletal. A 3-foot fence separated our yard from the neighbors. I climbed over. My boots squelched in the dirt. I moved quickly, cutting through 2 more yards, until I reached the corner of Maple and Lexington. A taxi waited under a streetlight. The driver nodded. No questions. I climbed into the back seat. The 847 Lexington Avenue, downtown. He drove. I watched the houses blur past. My heart hammered against my ribs. Every instinct screamed that I had just crossed a line. Left my home in the middle of the night. Run from my own daughter. But I was running toward something too. Answers. 20 minutes later, the taxi stopped in front of a brick building. 4 stories. Old, but solid. A single light glowed on the 4th floor. I paid the driver and stepped out. The street was empty. No cars, no people. Just the hum of distant traffic and the rustle of wind through bare trees. Inside the building smelled like disinfectant and old paper. I took the stairs. My legs burned by the 3rd floor. The 4th floor hallway was narrow and dim. Linda waited at the door. She looked older than I remembered. 68 now. Silver hair pulled into a tight bun. Sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, white lab coat over a turtleneck sweater. Thank God you came. Her voice was steady, professional, but her eyes were red. She stepped aside. I walked into the lab, sterile, white walls, metal tables, machines humming softly. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Linda did not hug me. She was never the sentimental type. But she touched my arm briefly. Sit down, Doug. What I'm about to tell you, it's going to hurt. I sat. My hands gripped the edge of the metal chair. Just tell me. She pulled a folder from a cabinet. Thick. Official. The label read, Forensic Toxicology Report. Charlotte Callahan. 4 months ago, Charlotte came to see me. She said, Linda, I think I'm being contaminated. My chest tightened. So she didn't tell you because she knew you would confront Tiffany. She was afraid Tiffany would harm you immediately. Linda opened the folder. Inside were printouts, charts, numbers. Charlotte brought me samples. Hair, nails. She collected them secretly. From the grocery store bathroom. Places where Tiffany couldn't interfere. Linda slid a page across the table. I ran unofficial tests here. Private lab, no records, no insurance claims, just Charlotte and me. The page showed a list of substances. Most were normal. Sodium, potassium, calcium. But 2 stood out. Thallium 187 micrograms per liter. Digoxin 4.2 nanograms per milliliter. What are these? Linda's jaw tightened. Thallium is rat poison. Digoxin is a heart medication. Both are lethal in high doses. Charlotte's levels were 10 times higher than normal, accumulated over 8 months. I stared at the numbers. They meant nothing. And everything. This wasn't illness, Doug. This was a crime. Slow, calculated, deliberate. The word hung in the air. Crime. My daughter. Linda leaned forward. And I need to test you, right now. Me. Charlotte suspected Tiffany was contaminating you too. That's why you've been feeling foggy. Tired. It's not grief, Doug. It's the substance. She pulled out a needle. My hand trembled as she tied the rubber band around my arm. The needle pinched. Blood filled the vial. Dark red against the glass. Linda walked to a machine in the corner. Inserted the vial. Pressed buttons. The machine whirred. 15 minutes passed. I sat, staring at the white walls, trying to breathe. The printer spat out a sheet of paper. Linda picked it up. Her face went pale. Oh, God. What? She turned the paper toward me. More numbers. Thallium 180 micrograms per liter. Digoxin 3.8 nanograms per milliliter. Your thallium level is 180. Normal is 0. Lethal is 200. You're at 90% of a fatal dose. I could not speak. Doug, Tiffany has been contaminating you for at least 4 to 5 months. Low doses. Probably in your coffee. And if you take 1 or 2 more doses, you'll go into multi-organ failure. Liver, kidneys, heart. You'll be gone within a week. Silence. I tried to process the words. Contaminating. Fatal. 1 week. The coffee. She makes my coffee every morning. She's been ending my life 1 cup at a time. Linda nodded. The door opened behind me. A man stepped in. 50s, leather jacket, Italian-American. Hard face, dark eyes. Linda gestured toward him. Doug, this is Dominic Russo, private investigator. Charlotte hired him 2 months ago. Dom extended his hand. His grip was firm. Want Mr. Callahan? I'm sorry for your loss, but we need to move fast. Because I have video footage of your daughter contaminating you. And it's worse than you think. He pulled a laptop from his bag and set it on the table. Are you ready to watch your daughter try to end your life? I wasn't ready. How could anyone be ready to watch their own child commit such an act? Dom set the laptop on the metal table. The screen glowed blue in the dim room. Linda stood behind me, arms crossed. Her face was tight with worry. Dom opened a file. A grid of video thumbnails appeared. Dates, times, all from the same angle, all from the same location. This is from 3 weeks ago. Hidden camera in your kitchen smoke detector. Charlotte authorized the installation. He clicked the first thumbnail. The video began. My kitchen. 7:15 in the morning. The timestamp blinked in the corner. Tiffany entered the frame. Pink bathrobe. Hair messy from sleep. She walked to the coffee maker. Reached for my favorite mug. Handmade ceramic. Charlotte bought it for me 20 years ago at a craft fair. Tiffany turned on the machine. Water began to heat. Then she reached into her robe pocket. She pulled out a small brown vial. Pharmaceutical bottle. The kind with a child-proof cap. She twisted it open, held it over the coffee maker's water reservoir. Tap, tap, tap. White powder fell in. She stirred it with a spoon. Calmly. Casually. Like adding sugar. Screwed the cap back on. Slipped the vial into her pocket. Pressed the brew button. While the coffee dripped, she scrolled through her phone. No expression. No hesitation. No guilt. The machine beeped. She poured the coffee into my mug. Carried it out of frame. The video ended. My hands shook. I could not speak. Dom's voice was quiet. Play it again. He rewound the footage. This time I watched more closely. Every movement, every detail. Wait. Stop. Go back to that part. Dom paused. The frame froze on Tiffany reaching into her pocket. Look at her face. No hesitation. No glancing over her shoulder. No guilt. I leaned forward. Play it again. Just that part. Dom replayed the sequence. Pocket. Vial. Tap. 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 Stir. Her hands moved smoothly. Practiced. Like muscle memory. She's done this before. Many times. That's not someone doing it for the first time. That's a routine. Linda's voice came from behind me. You're right. Dom nodded. We have 17 recordings. 3 weeks of surveillance, every morning. Same routine. Pocket, vial, 3 taps, stir, serve. 17 times. She contaminated me 17 times in 3 weeks, and I drank it. I thanked her for it. You didn't know. Dom's tone was firm, but it didn't help. I should have known. I'm her father. How did I not see it? Linda touched my shoulder briefly, because she was counting on that. Dom closed the video, pulled out a second folder. Thick. Financial documents. Charlotte suspected theft. She was right. He spread papers across the table. Bank statements. Retirement accounts. My accounts. Withdrawals over 18 months. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 22,000. Red circles marked each one. Total stolen $340,000. All forged signatures. All traced to the IP address at my house. So Derek Porter stole from you. Used your identity. Forged documents. My throat was dry. Why would they need? Because Derek owes $2.8 million. Dom pulled out another sheet. A breakdown. 1.2 million medical bills. Something about a second family or blackmail. The details were murky, but it was medical debt. 900,000 cryptocurrency losses. The crash of 2022 and 2023. He bought high, sold low, lost everything. 700,000 gambling debts. Loan sharks. Poker. Sports betting. He tried to fix it by stealing more, but he couldn't keep up. Dom pulled out another document. Hospital bills. Credit card statements. Screenshots of cryptocurrency exchanges. The medical debt started in 2021. A woman named Jessica Hartley. She claimed Derek was the father of her child. Paternity test confirmed it. The kid had a congenital heart defect. 3 surgeries. Derek paid to keep it quiet. Didn't want Tiffany to find out. My stomach turned. The crypto losses came next. Derek thought he could double his money, make back what he spent on the medical bills. Instead, he lost everything when the market crashed. Then he turned to poker. High-stakes games in Charlotte, Atlantic City, tried to win it back, lost more, Linda added quietly. By the time Charlotte discovered the theft, Derek was already being threatened. Loan sharks don't wait patiently. Dom tapped the papers. Charlotte gave him an ultimatum. Confess and face the consequences, or she'd turn him in herself. That's when Tiffany made the calculation. If Charlotte went to the authorities, Derek would go to prison. Tiffany would lose everything. The house, the inheritance, her entire future. He paused. But if Charlotte passed away before she could report the theft, the investigation would die with her. And if you followed soon after, they'd inherit enough to cover the debts and disappear. The room felt colder. I thought about the last 8 months. Charlotte's declining health, her fear, her warnings. All of it made sense now. I stared at the numbers. They blurred together. So Charlotte found out. Linda stepped forward. Charlotte confronted Derek in September of 2023. Gave him 24 hours to confess, or she'd call the police. Dom finished the thought. That's when Tiffany made the choice. If Charlotte went to the police, Derek would go to prison. They'd lose everything. But if Charlotte passed away naturally before she could talk, I said it aloud. They'd inherit from me. Dom nodded. Your total estate. $850,000 in retirement funds. $1.2 million in home equity. $800,000 in life insurance. Total $2.85 million. The numbers felt like stones in my chest. Linda's voice was steady, clinical. Eliminate Charlotte. Steal from you, then eliminate you. Tiffany inherits as the sole child, pays off the debts, starts fresh. And they'd get away with it if Charlotte hadn't been smarter than them. Silence filled the room. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Dom closed the laptop, looked me straight in the eye. Mr. Callahan, we have evidence, but it's not enough to convict. Defense lawyers will tear it apart. We need ironclad proof. Video of contamination while you're present. Fresh samples with proper chain of custody. And we need to catch them in the act. He paused. That means you have to go back. You have to let her try again. And this time we'll be watching. Go back. Dom was asking me to walk back into the house where my daughter had tried to end my life 17 times. Every instinct in me screamed no. But Charlotte's voice whispered through the noise. Get justice. I looked at Dom, at Linda, at the empty coffee cup on the table. How do we do this? Dom pulled out a notepad, started sketching. Here's what we'll do. You go back home. Tell them you went for a walk, grieving, couldn't sleep. They'll believe it. He tapped the paper. Tomorrow morning you ask for coffee. Same routine. She'll contaminate it. We'll have cameras recording. You don't drink it. We stop you. Police move in. Arrest. I frowned. That's it. That's the foundation. But we need perfect execution. I leaned forward. What if Tiffany suspects I've been gone 6 hours? What if she knows? Dom's voice stayed calm. You're a 72-year-old widower. You're allowed to act erratically. Grieving people do irrational things. I hesitated. I don't know if I can. She's my daughter. How do I look her in the eye and pretend? Silence. Then something shifted inside me. A different kind of thinking. The kind I used on construction sites when a project went wrong and I had to solve it fast. Wait. If I suddenly ask for coffee after avoiding it for weeks, she'll get suspicious. Dom tilted his head. What do you mean? I haven't requested coffee in months. Charlotte always made it. After she got sick, I made my own or skipped it. If I suddenly ask Tiffany, she'll know something's wrong. Silence. Dom realized I was right. I need a reason. A believable reason that makes asking for coffee feel natural. Linda leaned in. What are you thinking? I need to make her think she's already won, completely. That I've crumbled, easy to control, ready to sign the papers. Dom crossed his arms. Hey, how? I go back, apologize for running off. I tell them, you're right. I can't do this alone. I'll sign the papers. But first, I pause. I look at Tiffany. Can we have one last family dinner, a memorial dinner for your mother? Tonight. Linda's eyes widened. A memorial dinner. I'll make it emotional, sentimental. I'll ask Tiffany to cook. Mom's favorite meal. I'll cry. I'll talk about Charlotte. I'll make them think I'm a broken old man who's given up. They'll let their guard down. Dom looked impressed. And the coffee. The next morning, I won't just demand coffee. I'll be too emotional to sign the papers right away. I need a moment. I'll say, sweetheart, could you make me a cup of coffee the way your mother used to? It won't seem suspicious. It's tradition. It's grief. Silence filled the room. Linda's eyes glistened. Doug, that's brilliant. Charlotte would be so proud of you. Dom nodded slowly. That's our play. Memorial dinner tonight. Cameras go in while you're out shopping. Coffee trap tomorrow morning. He opened a briefcase, pulled out equipment, a button microphone. Small, black. Designed to look like the top button on a dress shirt. It would transmit audio and had a panic button built in. 4 cameras. Smoke detector for the kitchen. Digital clock for the counter. Thermostat for the hallway. Vent cover for the basement. Police. Detective Sarah O'Brien plus 4 officers. 2 unmarked cars, 1 block away. Dom handed me the button mic. You'll wear an earpiece. Tiny. Invisible. I'll be in a surveillance van 2 blocks over. I hear everything you hear. If you're in danger, press the button. Police will be there in 30 seconds. What if they search me, find the wire? Oh, they won't. You're their target, not their enemy. They think you're compliant. They won't suspect. Dom laid out the timeline. You go home at 7 a.m. They'll be relieved. Angry, but relieved. You propose the memorial dinner. You all go shopping together. That's when my team installs the cameras. Dinner tonight. Coffee trap tomorrow morning. Linda stepped forward. Her face was serious. Doug, before you go. I need you to understand something. She held up the blood test results again. You're at 180 micrograms per liter of thallium. Lethal is 200. 1 more dose, maybe 2, and you will go into organ failure. I won't drink it. But if something goes wrong, if you accidentally swallow even 1 sip, your kidneys will shut down. Your liver will fail. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm telling you this is life or death. Charlotte passed away to get this evidence. Don't be foolish enough to follow her. I reached across the table, took Linda's hand. I won't, I promise. She squeezed my fingers. Dom packed the equipment into a black duffel bag, handed it to me. Everything you need is in here. The button mic, the earpiece, instructions. When you get home, put the mic on under your shirt. Test it by tapping twice. I'll respond through the earpiece. He looked me in the eye. Mr. Callahan, this is going to work. But you have to sell it. You have to make Tiffany believe you're defeated. Can you do that? I thought about Charlotte. Her final words. Trust Linda. Don't trust Tiffany. I thought about the video. Tap, tap, tap. I thought about the 8 months of watching her fade. I can do it. Dom extended his hand. I shook it. Linda walked me to the door. The sky outside was turning gray. Dawn was coming. She hugged me briefly. Professional, but warm. Be careful, Doug. Come back alive. I will. I walked down the stairs, out into the cold Asheville morning. The streets were empty. The air smelled like rain. Dom followed me outside, stood on the sidewalk. One more thing, Mr. Callahan. I turned. He handed me the button mic. It's time to go home. It's time to catch a criminal. The taxi dropped me 2 blocks from home. I walked the rest, rehearsing the lies I was about to tell my daughter. I'm sorry. I couldn't sleep. I just needed air. The button mic sat hidden beneath my shirt collar. The earpiece nested deep in my ear canal. Invisible. Dom's voice had whispered through it 10 minutes ago. You're doing fine, Mr. Callahan. Just stick to the script. The performance, the trap. 1847 Maple Grove Road came into view. My house. Charlotte's house. 46 years of memories pressed into brick and wood. The front door opened before I reached it. Tiffany stood there, hair messy, no makeup, furious. Where the hell have you been? Derek appeared behind her, arms crossed, silent, watching. I kept my voice weak, practiced. I'm sorry, I couldn't sleep. I went for a walk. A walk you've been gone 7 hours. We called you 30 times. I left my phone, I needed to clear my head. Tiffany's face twisted. Clear your head, Dad, we were worried sick. We didn't know what to think. I saw it then. Not worry. Anger. Fear that I'd gone to the police. Fear that I'd done something they couldn't control. I pulled a receipt from my jacket pocket. Crumpled, slightly damp. I walked all the way to Riverside Park, where your mother and I used to go. Then I got coffee at the diner. I just sat there, thinking. I handed her the receipt. Kate's Diner, timestamp 6:45 a.m., coffee 2:50. I added the details. Shoes caked with mud, jacket damp from morning dew, leaves stuck to my sleeves. Perfect alibi. Tiffany's face shifted. Anger melted into calculated sympathy. Oh, Dad, come inside. You must be freezing. She led me into the living room, gestured to the armchair. I sat. Derek brought water. I didn't drink it, not anymore. Not ever again. Tiffany knelt beside me. Her voice softened. Fake concern dripping like honey. Dad, we were just worried. After yesterday, the papers, the tension. We thought you were upset with us. I let my voice tremble. Part performance, part real emotion. I was upset, but not with you, with myself. What do you mean? You were right. Yesterday, about the house, about me being manageable. I can't do this alone. I've been lying to myself thinking I could handle Charlotte's passing the house, the bills, the memories, but I can't. Tiffany and Derek exchanged a glance. The old man is breaking. Good. I'll sign the papers. You can manage everything. I trust you. Tiffany's mask slipped for half a second. Greed flashed in her eyes. Then she buried it under false compassion. Oh, Dad, are you sure? I'm sure, but can I ask one thing first? Derek leaned forward. Anything. Can we have a memorial dinner tonight? Just us, our family. One last dinner in this house to honor Charlotte. And then tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll sign. Silence, Tiffany calculated. Delay, but he already agreed. One more day wouldn't hurt. Of course, Dad, that's beautiful. And Tiffany, will you cook Mom's roasted chicken with rosemary, the way she taught you? I want tonight to be perfect. For her. Tiffany slipped into the role of the dutiful daughter. I'd be honored. I nodded slowly. Played the grieving widower. But we need ingredients. Fresh rosemary. That good wine. The kind from the organic market. Derek frowned. We can just hit Food Lion down the street. No, it has to be from Whole Foods. The one on Merriman Avenue. Charlotte always bought her rosemary there. It has to be right. Tiffany's irritation flickered. She tried to hide it. Whole Foods is 30 minutes away. I made my voice pleading, pathetic. Please. I know it's a lot to ask, but humor an old man. For Charlotte. Tiffany couldn't refuse without seeming heartless. Okay, Dad, we'll go now. Get it over with. Can we all go together? I don't want to be alone. Not today. Derek sighed. Fine, family trip. We climbed into Derek's SUV. Derek drove, Tiffany in the passenger seat, me in the back. 9:30 a.m., we pulled out of the driveway. Inside my head, I thought, Dom, you have your window. 3 hours. Use them. Whole Foods smelled like coffee and expensive produce. Polished concrete floors. Organic everything. I became impossible to please. At the herb section, I held up bundles of rosemary. Is this one fresh enough? I spent 10 minutes sniffing herbs, comparing colors, asking questions. At the wine aisle, I read every label. Was it Cabernet or Pinot Charlotte would want the right one? 15 bottles, 15 labels. Tiffany's jaw tightened. At the meat counter, I interrogated the butcher. Organic, free range. What would Charlotte want? Derek checked his watch. Again and again. Tiffany's patience frayed. Dad, any of these would be fine. I just want it to be perfect. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket. A text from Dom. Done, all clear. 12:30 p.m. We finally checked out. As we loaded groceries into the SUV, I glanced at Tiffany. She smiled, satisfied, thinking she'd won. She had no idea. The house was exactly as we'd left it. Smoke detectors unchanged. Clock on the counter in the same spot. Thermostat untouched. But now they were watching, listening, recording. Tiffany unpacked the groceries, started prepping the chicken. Derek opened the wine to let it breathe. I sat at the kitchen table, watched her work. She moved efficiently, chopping rosemary, seasoning the chicken, humming softly, playing the loving daughter. I thought about tomorrow morning, about the coffee, about the tap, tap, tap of powder falling into the pot, about the moment her freedom would end. Dad, you okay? I looked up. Tiffany was watching me, just thinking about your mother. She loved this recipe. Tiffany's smile didn't reach her eyes. I know. I learned it from her. I nodded. She'd be proud of you. The lie tasted like ash. That evening we sat at the dining table. The three of us. Ivy was upstairs asleep, blissfully unaware. The roasted chicken sat in the center, golden, fragrant, rosemary and garlic. Tiffany poured the wine, raised her glass. To Mom, and to new beginnings. Derek echoed. To Charlotte. I lifted my glass. Didn't drink, just held it. To Justice. They didn't hear the word I whispered. Or if they did, they didn't understand. We ate in near silence. Tiffany and Derek exchanged glances, satisfied, victorious. They thought they'd broken me. They had no idea I was about to break them. When we drove home from the store, I stared at the back of Tiffany's head. Tomorrow morning, she would make me coffee. And tomorrow morning, her freedom would end, while I was pretending to choose between bundles of rosemary. 5 strangers were breaking into my house. Dom told me about it later. The whole operation, every detail. How they moved through my home like ghosts, installing eyes where there had been none. I imagine it like this. 9:35 a.m. Dom's van, parked 1 block away from 1847 Maple Grove Road. White panel van. Logo on the side, Asheville Cable and Internet Service. Looked completely legitimate. 5 people inside. Dom plus 4 technicians. Jake, Marcus, Elena, Sam, all former military or law enforcement. All trained for operations like this. They wore uniforms, blue coveralls, tool belts, badges clipped to their pockets. They carried ladders, toolboxes, equipment that screamed official business. Helen Patterson waved from across the street. 82 years old, always watching, always neighborly. Dom waved back. Spear optic upgrade, ma'am. Helen smiled. Oh, wonderful, Doug will love that. Dom thought, if only you knew, ma'am. They entered through the back door. I'd left it unlocked, hidden the spare key under the loose brick by the porch. Just like Dom instructed. 9:40 a.m. inside the house. Dom's voice was quiet, efficient. We have 2.5 hours. Move fast, stay silent. They split up. Jake headed to the kitchen, carried a ladder and a black duffel bag. The smoke detector hung on the ceiling. Standard battery-powered model. Nothing special. I'd installed it myself 10 years ago. Jake climbed the ladder, unscrewed the detector, held it in his palm. Then he pulled out the replacement. It looked identical. Same brand, same model, same white plastic casing. But inside it was completely different. A tiny HD camera, wide-angle lens, night vision, Wi-Fi transmitter, all nestled inside the shell. Jake mounted it on the ceiling, aimed it downward. Perfect angle, clear view of the kitchen counter, the coffee maker, my usual seat at the table. He tested it, tapped a button on his phone. The camera blinked green. Dom stood in the living room, laptop open, watching the feed. Crystal clear, every detail visible. Camera 1 online, 12 minutes. Jake climbed down, packed the old detector into his bag. No trace left behind. Elena moved to the counter, picked up my old digital clock radio. It had been sitting there for 20 years. Charlotte bought it at a yard sale. Elena pulled out a new one. Same brand, same color, same cracked corner on the plastic casing. Dom's team had found an exact match online, aged it to look identical, but this one had a camera hidden inside the speaker grill. Elena positioned it carefully, angled it toward the coffee prep area, side view, backup angle in case Tiffany blocked the smoke detector's line of sight. She plugged it in. The display lit up. 7:43 a.m. Wrong time. Didn't matter. It looked authentic. Dom checked the feed. Camera 2 online. 8 minutes. Marcus worked in the hallway. Unscrewed the thermostat from the wall. Nest model. Smart home technology. I'd installed it 3 years ago to save on heating bills. He opened the casing. Tiny camera inside. Barely visible. Lens pointed down the hallway. View of the kitchen entrance. Anyone walking in or out would be recorded. Marcus snapped the cover back on, checked the display. Temperature reading 68 degrees. Normal. Dom's laptop showed the third feed. Camera 3 online. 10 minutes. Sam descended into the basement, found the air return vent near the ceiling. Unscrewed the grate. Installed a camera inside. Pointed toward the basement stairs. Why the basement? In case Tiffany hid the substance down there. In case she tried to dispose of evidence. Also backup. If the main cameras failed, this one would still be recording. Sam replaced the grate. Tested the feed. Camera 4 online. 15 minutes. Dom moved to the router. Small box mounted on the wall near the TV. Blinking green lights. Wi-Fi network Maple Grove _home. He pulled out a device. Smaller than a deck of cards. Plugged it into the router's USB port. Signal hijacking. The Wi-Fi would still work normally. Tiffany and Derek could browse, stream videos, check email. Nothing would seem different. But underneath, Dom's device was transmitting. 4 video feeds. Audio from hidden microphones. All encrypted. All streaming to Dom's van parked down the street. He tested it. Jake stood in the kitchen. Testing. 1, 2. Dom's earpiece crackled. Copy. Audio clear. Elena walked past camera 2. Motion detection activated. The feed highlighted her movement. Dom nodded. System operational. We're live. He checked his watch. 11:45 a.m. They had time. Barely. Jake packed up his tools. Marcus coiled the cables. Elena double-checked the clock angle. Sam climbed out of the basement. Dom did a final sweep. Walked through every room, looking for anything out of place. Any sign of entry. Nothing. The house looked exactly as we'd left it. Then he heard it. A car in the driveway. Dom froze. Everyone down. They dropped. Jake behind the couch. Marcus in the hallway. Elena under the kitchen table. Sam in the basement stairwell. Dom crawled to the window. Peeked through the curtains. Not Derek's SUV, a different car. Older, sedan. Mail carrier number. Knock, knock, knock. Dom's heart pounded. He looked again. Helen Patterson, holding a casserole dish covered in foil. Doug, anyone home? I brought you some food, you poor dear. Silence. Helen tried the door. Locked. She sighed. Set the casserole on the porch mat. I'll leave it here for you, honey. You take care now. Her footsteps retreated. Car door slammed. Engine started. She drove away. Dom exhaled. Clear, let's move. They stood. Resumed packing. 12 noon. Final check. All cameras hidden. No signs of forced entry. No tools left behind. The house was clean. 12:15 p.m. They exited through the back door. Locked it. Replaced the key under the brick. 12:20 p.m. The van pulled away from the curb. Drove slowly, casually. Just another service call in a quiet neighborhood. Dom sent me the text. Done. All clear. I was standing in the Whole Foods checkout line when my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Relief washed through me. 12:35 p.m. Derek's SUV pulled into the driveway. I climbed out. Arms full of grocery bags. Stepped into a house that was no longer just my home. It was a crime scene waiting to unfold. The memorial dinner was perfect. And that was what made it unbearable. 6 p.m. The dining table was set with Charlotte's best china. White porcelain with blue flowers. We only used it for holidays. Christmas, Thanksgiving, special occasions. Tonight qualified as special, in the worst possible way. Tiffany had cooked everything. Roasted chicken, rosemary, roasted vegetables, red wine breathing in a decanter. It smelled exactly like Charlotte's cooking. My chest tightened. Ivy appeared at the top of the stairs. 5 years old, confused, holding her stuffed rabbit. Where's Grandma? I forced a smile. Grandma's in heaven, sweetheart. But she's still watching over us. Is she coming back? My voice cracked. No, honey, she's not coming back. Tiffany scooped Ivy into her arms, kissed her forehead, carried her to the table. We sat, the three of us. 4 if you counted the ghost of Charlotte hovering in every detail. The recipe, the china, the empty chair at the head of the table. I began telling stories. Part of the script, part of the performance. The first time I met your mother, Tiffany, she was 22. Working at the bank. I was 24 installing kitchen cabinets. I asked her out 5 times before she said yes. Tiffany dabbed her eyes with a napkin. That's so sweet, Dad. Our wedding day it rained. Charlotte said rain on your wedding day means the marriage will last. She was right. 48 years. I paused. Let the emotion sit heavy. She planted that rose garden the year you were born, Tiffany. She said every daughter needs her mother's garden. Tiffany's face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Oh, Dad, such beautiful memories. But I watched her closely. The micro-expressions she couldn't quite hide. A glance at her watch. A flick of her eyes toward Derek. An impatient smile she buried too quickly. Derek barely pretended. He checked his phone twice during dinner. I played my role perfectly. The broken widower, the defeated old man. When the meal ended, I set down my fork. Tomorrow morning I'll sign the papers, I promise. Tiffany reached across the table, squeezed my hand. Thank you, Dad. Mom would be so proud of you. Inside my head, I thought, no. She'd be proud I'm about to stop you. 10 p.m. I lay in my bedroom, door locked, lights off, fully clothed beneath the blankets. The button mic sat on the nightstand. The earpiece nestled in my ear. Dom's voice whispered through the static. "Yeah, you doing okay, Doug?" I whispered back. "Fine, just waiting. Try to sleep. You need rest." "Joel, I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see her. Tiffany, 5 years old, pigtails, missing her front tooth. She asked me to push her higher on the swing. Higher, Daddy, higher. And I did. She laughed so loud, and I thought I'll protect this child forever. Dom stayed silent for a long moment. I know. When does a child stop being yours? When do they become a stranger? I don't have an answer for that. Silence filled the line. I stared at the ceiling, tried to remember who Tiffany used to be. Before the greed, before the cruelty, before she decided her father's life was worth less than her debts. I couldn't find that little girl anymore. 11:30 p.m., voices drifted through the wall. The master bedroom shared a wall with the kitchen. Tiffany and Derek thought I was asleep. They spoke freely. Tiffany's voice came sharp and clear. Finally, tomorrow morning. One more cup. He signs the papers. And we're done. Derek's deeper voice followed. What if he changes his mind? He won't. You saw him tonight. He's completely broken. He's ours. And after he signs, Tiffany's tone turned cold, clinical. We give him a week. Then we increase the dose. Make it look like a heart episode from grief. Natural. Nobody suspects an old man passing from a broken heart. My hands clenched into fists. Derek again. What about the kid, Ivy? She's too young to remember. We'll tell her grandpa loved her very much. She'll believe it. Laughter, muffled, cruel. I bit down on the pillow to keep from screaming. 2 a.m. My phone buzzed. Silent mode. Linda's voice was tight with worry. Doug, I can't sleep. I need you to hear this clearly. Your thallium level means one more dose could be fatal. Not might be, will be. If you swallow even one sip tomorrow morning, I won't drink it. Linda, I promise. I'll get justice for Charlotte. Her voice softened. She loved you so much. I know. That's why I have to do this. 5 a.m. Dawn broke. The sky turned crimson, blood red. I rose, showered, changed into a button-down shirt and jeans, attached the mic, top button, invisible, fitted the earpiece deep into my ear canal. Dom's voice crackled to life. It's time, Doug. Let's catch a criminal. I whispered into the mic. For Charlotte. I looked at myself in the mirror. 72 years old. Gray hair, lined face, tired eyes. But underneath something harder, something unbreakable. I thought about Charlotte. Her last words. Trust Linda. Don't trust Tiffany. I thought about the video. Tap, tap, tap. I thought about the voice through the wall. One more cup. Natural. Nobody suspects. I walked to the bedroom door, unlocked it, stepped into the hallway. The house was quiet. Early morning light filtered through the windows. I descended the stairs slowly, each step deliberate. 6:45 a.m. I reached the bottom. The kitchen light was already on. My daughter was inside, and she was smiling. The kitchen smelled like morning, coffee, toast, butter melting in a hot pan. 6:45 a.m. I walked into the kitchen like I had 1,000 times before. Barefoot, wearing the same gray sweatpants and faded Duke University shirt I always wore. Hair uncombed, eyes tired. The button mic was clipped inside my collar. Invisible. Dom's voice crackled softly in my earpiece. We're live. All 4 cameras recording. Just act normal. Normal. Right. Tiffany stood at the stove, scrambling eggs in a cast-iron skillet. She wore pink pajamas, hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, humming softly. She looked up when I entered, smiled. Morning, Dad. You sleep okay? I rubbed my eyes, scratched my neck. Not really, kept waking up. She nodded, sympathetic. That's normal. Grief does that. Mom would have wanted you to rest. Mom, Charlotte, my wife. The woman Tiffany had slowly taken from me over 8 months. I sat at the table. Same seat. Same spot where I'd drunk 17 cups of contaminated coffee. Where I'd absorbed enough thallium to bring me within 20 micrograms of death. The radio played NPR Morning Edition. Stock market updates, weather forecast. Rain expected this afternoon. Derek walked in, dressed already, khakis and a polo shirt. He poured himself orange juice, leaned against the counter. "Morning, Doug." I nodded. "Morning." He glanced at Tiffany. She glanced back. Brief, silent communication. I pretended not to notice. Dom's voice in my ear. "Good. Keep it casual." Tiffany finished the eggs, slid them onto a plate, set it in front of me. Toast on the side. Butter. Strawberry jam. "Eat up. You need your strength." I picked up my fork, took a bite. The eggs were good, fluffy, seasoned with salt and pepper. I chewed slowly, swallowed. "Thank you." She smiled again, touched my shoulder. "Of course, Dad, we're family." Family. Derek sat across from me, unfolded the newspaper, pretended to read the sports section. But his eyes kept flicking up. Watching. I ate the eggs, the toast, drank water from a glass Tiffany had set out. Then I said the line Dom had coached me to say. "Could you make me some coffee the way Mom used to?" Tiffany froze, just for a second. Her smile flickered, then she recovered. "Of course, I'd love to." She walked to the counter, pulled out the ceramic mug, the one Charlotte and I bought at a craft fair 30 years ago. Blue glaze, chipped handle, our favorite. Tiffany filled the electric kettle, 350 milliliters. Exactly. She measured it. Derek folded his newspaper, stood, walked to the doorway between the kitchen and living room, leaned against the frame, arms crossed, watching. Dom's voice. "Here we go." The kettle heated, steam rose. Tiffany reached into her pocket, the pocket of her pink pajama pants. She pulled out a small glass vial, brown, no bigger than my thumb. Handwritten label D-Sup. Not a prescription, not a vitamin, not a supplement from any legitimate pharmacy. Thallium sulfate, digoxin powder, mixed. The same substance she'd been slipping into my coffee for months. The cameras captured it. All 4 angles. Smoke detector overhead, clock on the counter, thermostat in the hallway, vent in the basement. Every detail, crystal clear. Tiffany unscrewed the cap. She held the vial over the mug. Tap, tap, tap. 3 times. Precise, practiced, routine. White powder fell into the bottom of the mug. Maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. Enough to push my blood thallium level past 200 micrograms per liter. Enough to destroy my kidneys, my liver, my heart. Enough to end me. She stirred the powder with a spoon. Tiny circles, dissolving it, making sure it mixed completely. Then she poured the hot water. 350 milliliters. Dark roast coffee grounds already in the mug. French press style. She stirred again, longer this time. Watching the liquid swirl, she hummed, softly, under her breath. "You are my sunshine," the song Charlotte used to sing to her when she was little. When Tiffany had pigtails and scraped knees and a gap-toothed smile. Now she sang it while preparing to finish what she'd started 8 months ago. Derek spoke from the doorway. "Coffee ready?" Tiffany glanced at him. "Almost." She added cream, 2 tablespoons. Just the way I liked it. Stirred one more time. Lifted the spoon. Tasted it. Perfect. She wiped the spoon on a towel, set it in the sink, picked up the mug, walked toward me. Her face was calm, warm, loving. She set the mug in front of me, right next to my empty plate. "Here you go, Dad, just like Mom made it." The mug was warm in my hands, steam rose. The smell hit me. Dark roast, cream, familiar, comforting. 17 times before I'd lifted this mug to my lips, drunk it down. Felt the bitter aftertaste I'd blamed on cheap coffee. 17 times I'd ingested the substance that had turned my hair brittle, my nails thin, my hands shaky. 17 times I'd trusted my daughter. Dom's voice crackled. "Do not drink. Repeat, do not drink. We have everything we need." I held the mug, stared into the liquid. Dark, opaque, hiding death. Tiffany sat across from me, sipped her own coffee, watched me over the rim of her cup. Derek leaned against the doorway, arms still crossed, waiting. I lifted the mug, slowly, brought it close to my lips. The steam warmed my face. Tiffany's eyes followed my hand. Anticipation flickered across her expression, quickly hidden. I paused. Set the mug down. Looked at her. Tiffany, before I drink this, I need to ask you something. She blinked, smiled. Of course, Dad. Anything. I kept my voice steady. What were Mom's last words to you? Silence. The radio played softly. NPR anchor discussing interest rates. Tiffany's smile faded. Just a fraction. Her last words. I nodded. Yes, before she passed. What did she say? Tiffany glanced at Derek. He shifted his weight. Uncomfortable. She looked back at me. She said she loved us. All of us. I held her gaze. That's all. Her jaw tightened. What else would she say? I reached for the mug again. My fingers wrapped around the ceramic. Still warm. I don't know. I thought maybe she said something else. Something important. Tiffany's eyes hardened. She was dying, Dad. She wasn't exactly writing speeches. I nodded slowly. Right. I lifted the mug, brought it to my lips. Dom's voice in my ear. Doug, do not drink. We have what we need. Put it down. The coffee touched my lower lip. Hot, bitter smell. I thought of Charlotte. Her last real words to me. Whispered in the hospital bed 2 days before she died. Don't trust our daughter, you'll be next. I lowered the mug, set it on the table, looked at Tiffany, and for the first time in 48 years I saw my daughter for what she truly was. Before I reveal what happened next, the confrontation, the arrest, the moment everything exploded. I need to know you're still with me. Drop a comment right now and rate your curiosity on a scale of 1 to 10. How badly do you want to know what I did in that moment? What would you have done if you were standing in my kitchen, knowing your daughter just tried to kill you for the 17th time? Tell me in the comments. Also, a quick note. The story ahead includes fictionalized elements for narrative depth. If that's not something you're comfortable with, feel free to stop here. Those words hung in the air like a death sentence. Not for me. For her. I set the mug down. Carefully, deliberately. The ceramic made a soft clink against the table. Tiffany's smile faltered. Dad, you okay? I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman who'd sung me lullabies as a child, who'd brought me breakfast in bed, who'd just tried to end my life. No, I said quietly. I'm not okay. Derek shifted his weight, still leaning in the doorway, eyes narrowing. On Doug, what's going on? I stood, slowly. My chair scraped against the floor. What's going on is that I know. Tiffany blinked, innocent, confused. But know what? Everything. Silence. The radio played softly. Stock market update. Dow up 30 points. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, set it on the table. This is a toxicology report from Dr. Linda Reeves, forensic pathologist. She tested my blood 3 days ago. Tiffany glanced at the paper, back at me. Dad, I don't understand. Thallium, I said. 180 micrograms per liter. Normal level is 0. Fatal level is 200. I'm at 90% of lethal dose. Her face paled. I pointed at the coffee mug. You've been putting it in my coffee. Every morning. For months. Derek straightened. Voice sharp. That's insane. You can't prove... I can, I said. Because you did the same thing to Charlotte. Tiffany's mask cracked. Just a fraction. Damn, Mom was sick. The doctors said stress, side effects. But they were wrong. Because Dr. Reeves tested samples Charlotte collected 4 months before she died. Hair, fingernail clippings. She saved them, mailed them to Linda just in case. I unfolded the paper, showed them the numbers. Thallium, digoxin, both at toxic levels. Charlotte didn't die from cancer. She didn't die from stress. You ended her life. Slowly. Over 8 months. Tiffany stood, hands trembling. That's crazy, I would never... You stood in this kitchen and watched her hair fall out. You watched her hands shake so badly she couldn't hold a fork. You watched her vomit blood in the bathroom. And you smiled. You played the devoted daughter. You brought her tea. You brought her supplements. You brought her death. My voice broke. And then you did it to me. Tiffany's eyes filled with tears. Crocodile tears. Dad, please. I don't know what Linda told you, but she's wrong. She's confused. Maybe she mixed up the samples. She didn't, I said. Because I have video. Silence. Tiffany froze. What? Surveillance video. Of you. Taking a brown glass vial from your pocket. Tapping it 3 times into my coffee. Serving it to me with a smile. 17 times. Just in the last 3 weeks. Derek's jaw clenched. You're bluffing. Am I? I looked up at the smoke detector. The smoke detector above your head. Hidden camera, wide-angle lens. The clock on the counter. Another camera. The thermostat in the hallway camera. The button on my shirt. I tapped my collar. Microphone. Everything you've done. Everything you've said. Recorded. Tiffany's eyes followed my finger. Looked at the smoke detector. Horror dawned on her face. No. Yes, I said. And this morning you did it again. Right in front of the cameras. You prepared that coffee. You contaminated it. You served it to me, all recorded. High definition. 4 angles. Audio, time-stamped. I pointed at the mug. And that coffee sitting on the table. The police are going to test it. They're going to find thallium sulfate, digoxin powder. They're going to match it to the vial in your pocket. Chain of custody, ironclad evidence. Tiffany lunged for the mug. I grabbed her wrist, hard. Don't! Derek moved. Fast. Came at me from behind. I shouted, now. The front door exploded inward. The back door crashed open. 6 police officers poured into the house, guns drawn, vests, radios crackling. Police hands up, get on the ground. Derek tried to run. 2 officers tackled him, slammed him against the wall, cuffed his hands behind his back. Tiffany screamed. No, it wasn't me. It was him. Derek made me. He threatened me. Detective Sarah O'Brien stepped forward. African-American woman, mid-40s. Calm. Commanding presence. She pulled out handcuffs. Tiffany Callahan Porter, you are under arrest for the fatal poisoning of Charlotte Callahan and the attempted fatal poisoning of Douglas Callahan. She turned Tiffany around, cuffed her wrists. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Tiffany sobbed. I didn't do it. Dad, tell them I didn't. Ma'am, stop talking, Detective O'Brien said. She guided Tiffany toward the door. An officer approached me. Mr. Callahan, you injured Tukunti? I shook my head. No, I'm fine. Detective O'Brien snapped on latex gloves, carefully lifted the coffee mug, placed it into a clear evidence bag, sealed it. Another officer searched Tiffany's pajama pocket, pulled out a small brown vial, glass, handwritten label D-Sup. Got it. Pharmaceutical container labeled D-Sup. Detective O'Brien took the vial, held it up to the light. White residue visible inside. Bag it. Chain of custody starts now. She turned to me. Mr. Callahan, this is excellent work. Most cases like this, we have circumstantial evidence at best. You just handed us a conviction. Dom Russo walked in. Laptop under his arm. Calm. Professional. He nodded at Detective O'Brien. Detective, we have 4 camera angles, full video, audio, all time-stamped. She smiled. Perfect. Send the files to my email. We'll need copies for evidence lockup. Dom looked at me. You okay? I nodded. Couldn't speak. Tiffany was led out in handcuffs. Still screaming, still denying. Dad, please don't let them. I'm your daughter, please. Derek said nothing. But as they pushed him toward the door, he turned his head. Looked at me. Hatred, pure, cold. Outside, neighbors gathered on the lawn. Helen Patterson stood on her porch, mouth open, shocked. 2 police cars, lights flashing, no sirens. They loaded Tiffany into the first car, Derek into the second. Detective O'Brien walked over to me, handed me her card. Mr. Callahan, you'll need to come down to the station later. Give a formal statement. But for now, you're safe. I took the card. My hand shook. Thank you. She nodded. Your wife was smart. She planned this entire thing. Even after she was gone, she protected you. That takes courage. I swallowed, hard. She was the strongest person I ever knew. Detective O'Brien smiled gently. You're not too bad yourself. She walked toward her car. I stood in the doorway, watched the police cars drive away. Tiffany looked back at me through the rear window. Tears streaming down her face. Her lips moved. I'm sorry. I didn't respond. I just watched the car roll down Maple Grove Road, turn the corner, disappear, and then my knees buckled. Dom caught me. Easy, I got you. He lowered me onto the porch steps. Sat beside me. I stared at my hands. They were shaking. It's over, Dom said quietly. I nodded, but it didn't feel over. It felt like the end of everything. I woke up in a hospital bed. For a moment I thought I'd dreamed it all. Then I saw the IV line taped to my arm pumping chelation medication into my bloodstream. The room smelled like antiseptic. Machines beeped softly. Morning light filtered through half-drawn curtains. I tried to sit up. Pain shot through my chest. A nurse appeared. Young, kind face. Mr. Callahan, stay still. You're at Mission Hospital. You collapsed this morning. What time is it? 9:30 a.m. You've been here about an hour. She adjusted my pillow, checked the IV, and left quietly. I tried to remember. The kitchen, the coffee, Tiffany's face, the police, Dom catching me before I hit the porch steps. Then nothing. A woman in a white coat entered. Mid-50s. Gray hair pulled back. Calm eyes. Mr. Callahan, I'm Dr. Amanda Fisher. How are you feeling? Like I was run over by a truck. She smiled faintly. That's the thallium. We've started chelation therapy, Prussian blue. It binds to the thallium and helps your body eliminate it. She showed me numbers on her tablet. Your blood work thallium level 182 micrograms per liter. Fatal threshold is 200. You were 18 micrograms from organ failure. I swallowed hard. How long? If you'd ingested another dose this morning, 48 to 72 hours. Kidney shut down, liver failure, cardiac arrest. You got here just in time. Charlotte had saved me, even after she was gone. We'll continue chelation for 2 to 3 days. You'll stay under observation, then outpatient monitoring. But you're going to recover. Recovery? What did that even mean anymore? 10 a.m., Linda Reeves walked in, eyes red from crying. Doug, oh thank God. Charlotte would be so proud. She sat beside the bed, took my hand. You did it. You caught them. We did it. You and Charlotte. I just finished what she started. The police have everything. Video, audio, coffee sample, the vial. It's over. And is it I just sent my own daughter to jail? Linda squeezed my hand. You sent the woman who ended your wife's life to jail. There's a difference. She pulled out an envelope, cream-colored. Charlotte's handwriting for Doug. Charlotte left you a letter. She wrote it 2 weeks before she passed. Made me promise to give it to you only after Tiffany was arrested. She didn't want you to read it before in case you didn't survive. My hands shook. Can I see it? When you're stronger. It's a lot, Doug. She explains everything. Why she didn't tell you. How she planned the investigation. How much she loved you. She set the envelope on the bedside table. I stared at Charlotte's neat, precise handwriting. And then I cried. For the first time since she died, I let myself break. Linda held my hand. Didn't say a word. Just stayed. 11 a.m. Dom walked in, grinning. How you feeling, old man? Like I was poisoned for 4 months. You were, but you'll be fine. He pulled out his notebook. Update on the arrests. Tiffany and Derek are in county jail. No bail. Charges fatal poisoning of Charlotte Callahan and attempted fatal poisoning of Douglas Callahan. He flipped a page. Coffee mug tested positive. 45 milligrams of thallium. That's massive. 1 sip would have ended you within hours. The vial in Tiffany's pocket, 87% pure thallium sulfate. Pharmaceutical grade, dark web. We traced the shipment. What about Derek? Dom smirked. Derek's lawyer says Tiffany coerced him. Tiffany's lawyer says Derek was the mastermind. They're turning on each other like rats on a sinking ship. Which is good for us. You'll need to testify. You ready? I thought about standing in a courtroom, looking Tiffany in the eyes. No, but I'll do it. For Charlotte. 11:30 a.m. A woman walked in, sharp suit, fierce eyes. Mr. Callahan, I'm Rachel Abrams. Dom hired me to represent you. I specialize in elder abuse and financial crimes. She pulled out files from her briefcase. I've reviewed all the evidence. You have an airtight case, but... I frowned. But what? She pulled out a document in a plastic sleeve. Typed pages. When police searched their car, they found this in the glove compartment. She handed it to me. The title read, Last Confession and Final Will of Douglas Callahan. My hands trembled. What is this? Rachel's expression was grim. A forged suicide note. Written as if you wrote it. Dated 2 days from now. It confesses to abusing Charlotte. Poisoning her. Killing her. It says you can't live with the guilt, so you're ending your own life. I stared at the page. My name, my supposed handwriting, words I never wrote. They were going to make it look like I took my own life out of guilt. Rachel nodded. Yes. If you'd consumed that coffee and passed away, this document would have been discovered by Tiffany. She'd have shown it to police, claimed you confessed before you drank the contaminated coffee yourself. She would have walked away, inherited everything, and you would have been remembered as the man who ended his own wife's life. I couldn't breathe. Mr. Callahan, this isn't just a plan to end your life. This is erasure. They were going to destroy your reputation, your memory, your legacy, turn you into a monster. I looked at the document again. It detailed abuse, violence, poisoning Charlotte slowly. Fake guilt. Fake remorse. None of it true. All designed to make me look like a criminal who took his own life rather than face justice. Dom stepped forward. This changes the charges. Prosecution's adding conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, identity theft, defamation of the deceased. Rachel nodded. This proves premeditation, planning, malice. We'll use this at trial. The jury will see exactly how calculated this was. She stood handing me her card. Oh, get some rest, Mr. Callahan. We've got a long road ahead. I sat there alone, staring at the forged confession. This wasn't just a plan to end my life. This was erasure. They weren't just going to take me away. They were going to turn me into a monster. The document in my hands was typed, professional, and it was supposed to be written by me. Except I'd never seen it before in my life. Rachel sat across from me. Linda stood by the window. Dom leaned against the door frame. All watching. Waiting. I started reading aloud. My voice shook. Or last confession and final will of Douglas Callahan. The words felt like poison on my tongue. To whom it may concern, I, Douglas Callahan of sound mind, write this confession as my final act before leaving this world. I can no longer live with the guilt of what I have done. My hands trembled. For the past 3 years, I have been consumed by gambling, online poker, sports betting. I lost everything. Our retirement funds, our savings. $850,000 gone. I forged documents. I took out loans under my wife's name. I destroyed our financial security. I paused, looked up at Rachel. This is a lie, every word. She nodded. Keep reading. I forced myself to continue. When Charlotte discovered what I'd done, she was devastated. She threatened to leave me, to tell our daughter, to call the police. I panicked. I couldn't let her ruin our family's reputation. I couldn't let Tiffany know what I'd done. So I made a terrible decision. My throat tightened. I began adding Charlotte's heart medication to her food, gradually increasing the dose. I told myself it wouldn't be painful, that she would simply slip away, that it would look like natural causes, but it wasn't painless. She suffered. For months she suffered, and I watched. I held her hand. I played the devoted husband, and I knew I was ending her life. I stopped, couldn't breathe. Linda crossed the room, put her hand on my shoulder. Keep going, Doug. I swallowed hard. Read on. Charlotte passed away on February 10th, 2024. Heart failure, the doctors said. I let them believe it. But I knew the reality. I took my wife's life. I thought I could live with that. I thought I could move forward, but I can't. The guilt is unbearable. Every night I see her face. I hear her voice asking me why. Tears blurred my vision. I've decided to join her. I've been taking the same medication. Slowly, painlessly. And tonight I will take the final dose. I leave everything to my daughter Tiffany Callahan Porter. She is innocent. She knows nothing of my crimes. She has been nothing but a loving, devoted daughter. She deserves a life free from the shame of what I've done. I had to pause. The words were suffocating me. To Tiffany, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being weak, for being a coward, for destroying our family. You are a better person than I ever was. Take care of Ivy. Tell her that Grandpa loved her very much. My voice broke. To the authorities, I acted alone. No one else is responsible for Charlotte's passing or mine. This is my confession. This is my choice. May God have mercy on my soul. At the bottom, a blank signature line. My name typed beneath it, Douglas Callahan. Date February 12th, 2024. Unsigned. I set the document down. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. This is a lie. Every single word. I never wrote this. I never gambled. Rachel leaned forward. We know. This is what's called a forged confession. It was fabricated, and it was their insurance policy. She pulled out a notepad, drew a timeline. Here's the plan they had. She wrote as she spoke. Step 1, trick you into signing what you thought was a power of attorney. But it was actually this confession. Step 2, final poison dose in your morning coffee. Step 3, you pass away, staged as self-inflicted poisoning. Step 4, place the signed confession next to your body. Step 5, call police. We found Dad. He left this letter. Oh my God, he ended Mom's life. She looked up at me. Result investigation closes. Charlotte's passing ruled as your doing. Your passing ruled as self-inflicted. Tiffany inherits as the innocent, grieving daughter. No investigation into them. I stared at her. They weren't just going to end me. They were going to frame me for ending Charlotte. Rachel nodded. Your reputation, your legacy, your memory, all destroyed. Everyone would remember you as a gambling addict who took his wife's life. The room spun, and Ivy would grow up thinking her grandfather was a monster. Linda's voice was soft. That's why Charlotte fought so hard. She knew. She knew they were going to try to erase you. I thought back to the papers, the ones Tiffany and Derek kept pushing at me. The blue folder with yellow sticky notes, sign here. The papers they kept pressuring me to sign. It wasn't a power of attorney. It was this. Dom spoke from the doorway. Exactly. That blue folder. This confession was hidden inside, disguised as legal paperwork. If you'd signed without reading, I finished his sentence. If I'd drunk that coffee this morning, if I'd passed away, they would have placed this beside my body, and everyone would have believed it. Rachel closed her folder. But here's the good news, their plan failed, and now they're destroying each other. She pulled out another document. Police interview summaries. Tiffany's statement to detectives. She read aloud. Claims Derek wrote the confession. Claims Derek forced her to poison Charlotte. Claims she was abused, terrified, acting under coercion. Claims she tried to protect you, but Derek threatened Ivy. She flipped a page. Derek's statement. Claims Tiffany masterminded everything. Claims Tiffany had pharmaceutical knowledge, researched toxic substances. Claims he only helped because he was being blackmailed. Claims Tiffany manipulated him. She said it was the only way to save Ivy. Rachel set the papers down. They're both trying to blame the other, which means prosecution has two confessions. Two defendants pointing fingers. A jury will see they're both guilty. Dom pushed off the doorframe, and we've got video, lab reports, and this confession. They're finished. I looked at the forged document again, read the signature line, my name, waiting for my handwriting. They weren't just planning to end me. They were planning to make sure no one would remember me as who I really was. Charlotte's husband, Tiffany's father. They were going to turn me into a villain. Rachel met my eyes. But they failed. Because Charlotte was smarter. Because you were braver. You'll testify at trial. You'll tell your story. And this confession, it becomes evidence of their guilt, not yours. She stood, straightened her suit jacket. Trial is scheduled 3 months from now. Are you ready to face your daughter in court and tell the world what she did? I looked at my phone, Charlotte's photo on the lock screen, smiling, alive, trusting me to finish what she started. I looked back at Rachel. I'm ready, I said. I'm ready. 3 months to prepare to face my daughter in court. 3 months to read Charlotte's letter. 3 months to become strong enough to say goodbye. Week 1, hospital. Chelation therapy continued. My body fought to purge the thallium, blood tests every morning. Dr. Fisher checking my progress. Thallium level 160 micrograms per liter, down from 182. Still dangerous, but improving. Week 2, discharged. Linda took me home. Not my home. Hers. A guest bedroom with clean sheets and photographs of Charlotte on the nightstand. Outpatient monitoring. Blood draws twice a week. Medications. Rest. Week 3. Thallium level 120. Kidney function stabilizing. Liver enzymes normalizing. My hands stopped shaking. Week 4. March. I moved back to my own house. Walking through the front door felt like entering a tomb. Everything was the same, and everything was different. The kitchen had been repainted, pale yellow instead of cream. The old coffee maker was gone. destroyed, replaced with a simple French press I'd never use. Charlotte's presence everywhere, her reading glasses on the bedroom nightstand, her perfume bottle on the dresser, half empty, lavender and vanilla. I could almost hear her voice. The garden outside, bare, February cold, but the rose bushes were still there. Waiting for spring, April, Rachel's office, trial preparation. She sat across from me, files stacked high. You'll be on the witness stand 3 to 4 hours. Defense will try to rattle you, call you confused, forgetful, claim Linda manipulated you. Are you ready for that? I met her eyes. I'm 72, not senile. I'll make that clear. She smiled faintly. Good. Remember, you're not a victim. You're a survivor. And you're testifying for Charlotte. Dom visited, brought coffee, sat on my porch. Trial starts in 2 weeks. Jury selection begins May 15th. Opening statements, May 20th. I nodded. I'll be there, May. The roses started blooming. Linda came over, carrying the envelope. Cream-colored. Charlotte's handwriting. For Doug. She handed it to me. It's time. Charlotte wanted you to read this when you were strong enough. I held the envelope. My hands trembled. Linda sat beside me. I'll stay, if you want. I nodded. I opened it, unfolded the pages. Charlotte's neat, precise handwriting filled 3 sheets. I started reading. My dearest Doug, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And Linda has told you everything. I'm so sorry, my love. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you myself. But please understand, I did this to save you. In October 2022, I discovered Derek had stolen $340,000 from our retirement accounts. I confronted him privately. I didn't tell you because I wanted to give Tiffany a chance to make it right. Derek panicked. He confessed gambling debts, crypto losses, loan sharks. 3.2 million total. I gave him 24 hours to tell you, or I'd call the police. That night, Tiffany came to see me. She said, if you call the police, I'll frame Dad. I have his paperwork. I'll say he has dementia. I'll say he took the money. And even if they don't believe me, the investigation will destroy his reputation. Is that what you want? I realized she wasn't begging. She was threatening. Our daughter was threatening me. Then I got sick. October 2023. Hair loss, tremors, weakness, nerve pain. This pattern looked like poisoning. I was terrified to tell you. Because I knew you. You'd confront Tiffany immediately. You'd protect me, and she would end your life. Fast. That very night. So I chose another path. I called Linda. I secretly sent her samples. Hair, fingernails. Linda tested them. Thallium, digoxin. I was being taken from this world. But Linda said, Charlotte, if we call police now, they'll investigate. Tiffany will hear. She'll panic. She'll end Doug immediately. So we planned. Linda hired Dominic. We gathered evidence legally, surveillance, forensic accounting chain of custody. We built an ironclad case. I knew I was dying. The toxins had gone too deep. But I could make sure you survived. Doug, I need you to understand why I couldn't tell you I loved you too much, to watch you pass, trying to save me. Tiffany controlled everything. My doctors, my calls, my movements. She threatened your reputation. She weaponized Ivy. I was trapped. So I fought the only way I could in secret. I need you to do some things for me. Get justice. Testify. Put her in prison. Save Ivy. She's innocent. Raise her. Love her. Keep living. Don't let grief consume you. We had 48 beautiful years. Honor that by living fully. Forgive Tiffany. Not now. Not soon, but someday. For your peace, not hers. I've loved you since the moment I met you. That carpenter with sawdust in his hair who asked me out 5 times. I've loved you through 48 years. 3 homes, 1 daughter, 1 granddaughter, and 1,000 everyday miracles. I will love you forever. Charlotte. P.S. The roses in the garden will bloom in June. Water them for me. And when you see them, remember, I'm still with you. I finished reading, tears streaming down my face. I couldn't speak. Linda sat beside me, crying too. Finally, I found my voice. She knew. She knew she was dying, and she used her last strength to save me. Linda nodded. She loved you more than her own life. I looked at the letter again. Charlotte's handwriting. Neat. Steady. Even as she was being taken from me. Will I ever forgive Tiffany? Linda was quiet. I don't know. But Charlotte was right. Forgiveness isn't for Tiffany. It's for you. So the poison doesn't stay in your heart forever. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope. The trial. I'm ready. Let's end this. May 15th. Jury selection began. Buncombe County Courthouse. Rows of potential jurors. Lawyers asking questions, striking names. By the end of the day, 12 jurors selected. 7 women, 5 men, ages 35 to 68. Teachers, nurses, a retired firefighter, an accountant, a librarian. Ordinary people asked to judge an extraordinary crime. May 19th. Final meeting with Rachel. She sat across from me, calm, focused. Tomorrow, opening statements. You'll take the stand day 2. Remember, you're not a victim. You're a survivor, and you're testifying for Charlotte. I looked at her. For Charlotte, May 20th, 2024. I walked into Buncombe County Courthouse. The courtroom was packed. Press, spectators, Linda, Dom, Rachel at the prosecution table. And at the defense table wearing an orange jumpsuit sat my daughter. Tiffany looked at me. Her eyes searched mine, looking for something. Love, forgiveness, pity. For the first time in my life, I felt nothing. The courtroom was silent as I raised my right hand and swore to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I looked at the jury. I looked at Tiffany. And I began. Prosecutor David Hartley stood, mid-40s, experienced, commanding presence. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is a case about greed, pure, calculated, lethal greed. Charlotte Callahan was poisoned by her own daughter for 8 months. Douglas Callahan was poisoned by that same daughter for 4 months. Why a $3.2 million debt? And a willingness to take 2 lives to clear it. He paced slowly. Over the next week, you will see video evidence of the defendant poisoning her father. You will hear toxicology reports proving Charlotte was taken from this world. And you will see a forged confession designed to frame Douglas as the one responsible. This isn't complicated. This is ending life for money. He sat down. Defense attorney Marcus Webb stood. Tiffany's lawyer. Mid-50s. Aggressive. My client is a victim. Abused by her husband, Derek Porter. Manipulated. Terrified. She acted under coercion. Yes, she made terrible mistakes. But she is not someone who takes lives. She is a mother trying to protect her child. He sat. Jennifer Miller stood. Derek's lawyer, early 40s, sharp. Derek Porter was manipulated by Tiffany Callahan. She had pharmaceutical knowledge. She researched toxic substances. She executed the plan. Derek was a pawn. She sat. Judge Margaret Whitfield looked at Prosecutor Hartley. Call your first witness. Hartley stood. The prosecution calls Douglas Callahan. I walked to the witness stand. Every eye in the room followed me. The bailiff held out a Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. I sat. The chair was hard. The microphone too close. Hartley approached. Please state your name for the record. Douglas Robert Callahan. Mr. Callahan, how old are you? 72. Tell us about your wife, Charlotte. I steadied my voice. Charlotte and I were married for 48 years. We met when I was 24, she was 22. I was a contractor installing kitchen cabinets at the bank where she worked. I had to ask her out 5 times before she said yes. Soft laughter from the jury, a few smiles. We built a life together, built our own house, raised our daughter Tiffany. Charlotte was a financial advisor for 35 years. She was smart, honest, and the strongest person I ever knew. Hartley nodded. When did you notice Charlotte becoming ill? June 2023. She was tired. Her hair started falling out. I thought it was stress. Did it get worse? Much worse. By December, she couldn't hold a coffee cup. Her hands shook. She lost 30 pounds. She looked like she was withering away. Did Tiffany help care for her mother? Yes. Tiffany and her husband Derek had been living with us for 3 years. After Charlotte got sick, Tiffany took over everything. Cooking, medications, doctor appointments. I thought she was being a good daughter. I paused. I was wrong. When did you learn otherwise? February 11th, 2024, the night after Charlotte's funeral. Dr. Linda Reeves called me. She told me Charlotte had been poisoned, and that I was being poisoned too. Gasps from the gallery. What was your reaction? And at first I didn't believe it. I thought, not my daughter, not my child. But then I remembered things. The way Tiffany always made my coffee. The way Charlotte tried to warn me, don't trust Tiffany. Oh no, I thought she was delirious, but she wasn't. She was trying to save me. Did you confront your daughter immediately? Not immediately. Dr. Reeves and private investigator Dominic Russo had a plan. They needed ironclad evidence. So I went back home. I pretended not to know, and I let Tiffany poison me one more time. But this time we recorded it. Why did you take that risk? Because Charlotte passed while gathering evidence. The least I could do was finish what she started. Hartley turned to the jury. No further questions. Judge Whitfield looked at the defense table. Cross-examination. Marcus Webb stood. Tiffany's lawyer. He approached me slowly. Predatory. Mr. Callahan, you're 72 years old, correct? Correct. And you've just lost your wife. You're grieving, exhausted, sleep-deprived. Isn't it possible that you've been confused, that Dr. Reeves, who had her own agenda, manipulated you into believing? I cut him off, my voice firm. Yeah, I'm 72 years old, counselor. That doesn't mean I'm stupid. The courtroom went dead silent. It means I'm experienced. I've built houses from foundation to roof. I've run a business for 40 years. I've raised a family. I know when someone's lying to me, and I know when someone's trying to end my life. Webb shifted his weight. But you're not a doctor. You're not a toxicologist. How can you claim? I don't need to be an expert. I saw my daughter take a vial from her pocket. I saw her tap white powder into my coffee. I saw her serve it to me with a smile. I may be old, but my eyes work just fine. A few jurors nodded. Webb tried again. You claim you were poisoned for months. Yet here you are looking perfectly healthy. I'm alive because I got to the hospital in time. My thallium level was 182 micrograms per liter. Fatal level is 200. I was days away from organ failure. If I'd drunk that coffee on February 12th, I'd be gone. And my daughter would have inherited $2.85 million. Webb's jaw tightened. You have no proof she intended. I have video, I have lab reports. I have a forged confession with a signature line waiting for my name. What more proof do you need? The jury was leaning forward now, engaged, believing. Webb looked at his notes, flipped a page, gave up. No further questions. He sat down. Judge Whitfield looked at Prosecutor Hartley. Direct. Hartley stood. Just one question, Your Honor. He walked toward me. Mr. Callahan. Do you still love your daughter? Silence. I looked at Tiffany. She finally looked back at me. Our eyes met across the courtroom. I loved the little girl she used to be. The child who called me daddy and rode on my shoulders. That child is gone. I don't know the woman sitting over there, and I grieve for both of them. Tiffany's face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Hartley nodded. Further questions. Judge Whitfield looked at me. You may step down, Mr. Callahan. I stood, walked back to my seat in the gallery. Linda squeezed my hand as I sat down. Hartley stood. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to present Exhibit 47 surveillance footage from the defendant's residence, February 12, 2024. The lights dimmed. A large screen descended from the ceiling, and the jury was about to watch my daughter try to end my life. Prosecutor Hartley stood. Your Honor, this is Exhibit 47. 4 camera angles from February 12, 2024, 6:50 to 7:05 a.m. Full audio and video. Time-stamped and authenticated. Chain of custody preserved. The screen lit up. Camera 1, smoke detector, overhead view. The kitchen. Morning sunlight through the window. Tiffany entered. Pink cardigan, hair in a ponytail. She walked to the coffee maker, picked up the mug, the one I'd used for 30 years. Blue ceramic. Handmade. She reached into her cardigan pocket, pulled out a small brown vial, twisted the black cap, held it over the water reservoir. Tappy. White powder fell. TAP, a second dose. TAP, a third. The jury leaned forward. Several covered their mouths. Camera 2. Clock on the counter. Side view. Close-up of Tiffany's face. Calm. No emotion. She twisted the cap back on, put the vial in her pocket, stirred the water with a wooden spoon. She hummed. The audio picked up the melody, You Are My Sunshine. A woman on the jury started crying. Camera 3, thermostat in the hallway. I walked into the kitchen. Timestamp 6:58 a.m. Sat at the table. Derek entered. Sat across from me. Watching. Tiffany brought the coffee over. Here you go, Dad, just like Mom used to make. Her hand rested on my shoulder. A gesture of false affection. Thank you, sweetheart. Camera 4, audio from the button mic on my shirt. My voice, before I drink this, I need to ask you something. Tiffany's voice worried. What is it? Mom's last words. She said, don't trust Tiffany. She knows. Tiffany's voice caught on mic. Dad, that's crazy. Mom was delirious. Was she delirious when she mailed hair samples to Dr. Reeves? Crash. Police bursting in. Tiffany screaming, No, it wasn't me, it was Derek. The video ended. Lights came up. The courtroom completely silent. Then the gallery erupted. Gasps. Crying. Whispers. Judge Whitfield banged her gavel. Order, order in this court. I looked at the jury. Juror 3, woman, mid-50s, teacher, wiping tears, staring at Tiffany in horror. Juror 7, man, 62, retired military. Jaw clenched, rage visible on his face. Juror 10, woman, 40, nurse, shaking her head, hand over her mouth. Juror 2, man, 48, engineer, writing furiously, face grim. Several jurors wouldn't even look at the defense table. Body language, arms crossed, leaning away. Hartley's thought was written on his face. We won. He stood. Your Honor, the prosecution calls Tiffany Callahan Porter as a hostile witness. Tiffany was led to the stand. Her hands shook. She was sworn in. Hartley approached. Miss Porter, the video shows you placing a substance into your father's coffee. What was that substance? Tiffany stammered. It was. Derek told me it was a vitamin supplement. A vitamin the forensic lab tested the vial found in your pocket. It contained 87% pure thallium sulfate. That's rat poison. You're telling this jury that's a vitamin. I didn't know. Derek gave it to me. He said it would give Dad energy. You have a degree in pharmaceutical sales. You worked for MediPharm for 8 years. You're telling this jury you didn't recognize a toxic substance. Silence. How many times did you put this vitamin into your father's coffee? I don't remember. Yeah, we have 3 weeks of surveillance footage. 17 separate occasions. 17 times you poisoned your father. And you expect this jury to believe you thought it was a vitamin? Tiffany collapsed, stood up, screamed. It was Derek. He bought it. He made me do it. He said if I didn't, he'd hurt Ivy. He threatened my daughter. Defense attorney Webb jumped up. Your Honor, my client is clearly in distress. Hartley cut in. Move to enter into the record that the defendant is blaming her co-defendant. Tiffany spun toward Derek, screamed at him. Tell them it was your idea. Derek faced like stone, silent, staring at her with absolute contempt. Judge Whitfield banged her gavel. Miss Porter, sit down or I will hold you in contempt. Tiffany, sobbing, collapsed into the witness chair. A bailiff helped her down. Hartley turned to the judge. Your Honor, the prosecution rests. The evidence speaks for itself. Video toxicology reports, financial records, the forged confession, and the defendant's own statements blaming each other. We have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Tiffany Callahan Porter and Derek Porter conspired to end the lives of Charlotte Callahan and Douglas Callahan for financial gain. Judge Whitfield looked at the defense table. So, defense, you may present your case tomorrow. Marcus Webb stood, looked at his notes, looked at the jury, saw their faces. We call no witnesses, Your Honor. We will rely on closing arguments. Translation, they had nothing left. Judge Whitfield nodded. Court is adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow. Closing arguments will begin then. She banged the gavel. Everyone stood as she left. I sat in the gallery. Linda beside me. Dom behind us. Linda whispered. It's over, Doug. They're finished. I nodded, but I felt nothing. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in Linda's guest room, staring at the wall. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Callahan, this is Officer Hayes from Buncombe County Jail. We have a request from inmate Tiffany Callahan Porter. She's asking to see you. She says she needs to speak to her father. One last time. I didn't go to the jail. I'd said goodbye to my daughter the day she tried to end my life. Instead, I waited for the jury to decide her fate. May 22nd, closing arguments. Prosecutor Hartley stood. Brief, direct. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the video. You've heard the testimony. You've reviewed the toxicology reports. This isn't a mystery. Tiffany Callahan Porter and Derek Porter ended Charlotte Callahan's life and conspired to end Douglas Callahan's life for money. They blame each other. But here's what's simple. They did it together. Both are guilty. Justice demands a guilty verdict. He sat. Defense attorney Marcus Webb stood. Tiffany's lawyer. My client made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But she acted under coercion, under threat from her husband. She deserves mercy. He sat. Defense attorney Jennifer Miller stood. Derek's lawyer. Derek Porter was manipulated by a woman with pharmaceutical knowledge. He's guilty of poor judgment, not ending lives. She sat. Judge Whitfield looked at the jury. You will now deliberate. Consider all evidence. reach a unanimous decision on each count. 1 p.m., the jury filed out. The waiting began. 8 hours stretched like 8 years. Linda sat beside me in the gallery. Dom behind us. Neither spoke. What was there to say? At 3 p.m., the jury sent a note, requesting clarification on the definition of conspiracy. Judge Whitfield read it aloud. Answered. The jury returned to deliberations. At 5 p.m., another note, requesting to review the surveillance video again. The courtroom held its breath. The video played once more. Tiffany looked away. Derek watched without expression. At 7 p.m., Judge Whitfield dismissed everyone for the night. Jury will resume tomorrow at 9 a.m. I went back to Linda's house. Didn't sleep. Sat in the guest room. Stared at the wall. Thought about Charlotte. About 48 years. About the roses she'd planted. About the letter she'd left. About justice, and whether it would feel like anything at all. 11 a.m., May 23rd. The jury returned. Judge Whitfield. Has the jury reached a verdict? Jury foreperson. Juror 7. Retired military. 62. Yes, Your Honor, we have. On the count of first-degree ending of life of Charlotte Callahan, how do you find the defendant, Tiffany Callahan Porter? Guilty, Tiffany screamed, covered her face. On the count of conspiracy to commit first-degree ending of life of Douglas Callahan, how do you find the defendant? Guilty, Tiffany sobbing uncontrollably. On all counts of conspiracy, fraud, and elder abuse, guilty on all counts. Gallery cheers erupted, quickly silenced by the judge's gavel. Judge turned to Derek. On the count of first-degree ending of life of Charlotte Callahan, how do you find the defendant, Derek Porter? Guilty. Derek, no reaction, face like stone. On the count of conspiracy to commit first-degree ending of life of Douglas Callahan, guilty. Derek, still no reaction, staring straight ahead. On all remaining counts, guilty on all counts. Tiffany collapsed, fell from her chair. Bailiffs caught her. She went into hysterics. Derek stood calmly, put his hands behind his back for cuffs, looked at me with absolute hatred. June 5th, 2 weeks later, sentencing hearing. Judge Whitfield addressed the packed courtroom. Tiffany Callahan Porter and Derek Porter, you have been found guilty by a jury of your peers of first-degree ending of life conspiracy to commit first-degree ending of life conspiracy, fraud, and elder abuse. This court has presided over many difficult cases, but this one is among the most reprehensible. You didn't harm strangers. You didn't act in a moment of passion. You ended the life of your own mother. You conspired to end the life of your own father. And you did it slowly, methodically, over 8 months for money. You watched Charlotte Callahan suffer. You watched her hair fall out. You watched her wither. And you smiled. You played the devoted daughter and son-in-law. You pretended to care while poisoning her. And when Charlotte passed, you didn't stop. You turned to Douglas, the man who raised you, loved you, trusted you. You poisoned him 17 times. You planned to frame him as responsible. You intended to destroy not just his life, but his legacy, his reputation, his memory. You did all of this for $2.85 million. You put a price on your mother's life, on your father's life. That price was greed. Pure, calculated, monstrous greed. This court grants you more mercy than you showed your victims. You will not face capital punishment, but you will spend every remaining day of your lives in prison with no possibility of parole, so that you must live with what you have done. Tiffany Callahan Porter, you are sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole on each count to be served consecutively. Derek Porter, you are sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole on each count to be served consecutively. You will pass away in prison. And perhaps in those years you will find the remorse you clearly don't feel today." Tiffany lunged forward, screaming, "No, please, Your Honor. Please, I have a daughter. Ivy needs me. Please don't." Judge Whitfield banged her gavel 3 times. "Hard, Miss Porter. You should have thought about your daughter before you poisoned your parents." "Sit down." Tiffany crumpled. Webb tried to steady her. She pushed him away. Derek stood motionless, expressionless, as if the sentence meant nothing, as if he felt nothing. The gallery erupted. Applause. Some people crying, others shouting approval. Helen Patterson, our 82-year-old neighbor, wiped tears from her face. Judge Whitfield banged the gavel again. "Order. This court is adjourned." She stood, left the bench. I sat there, watching bailiffs lift Tiffany from her chair, watching Derek walk calmly toward the exit. Justice had been served. So why did I feel so empty? Linda touched my arm. "Doug, it's done." I nodded, but I couldn't speak. She banged the gavel. Tiffany was led away in chains, still sobbing. As she passed me, she stopped, turned. Tiffany whispered, "I'm sorry." I said nothing, looked away. Derek walked past. Didn't look at me, just cold hatred in his eyes. They were led out through separate exits to prevent violence. I stood, walked out of the courthouse. Linda was waiting. "It's over." I shook my head. "No, it's just beginning." 6 months later, I stood outside a different building, not a courthouse, a prison. One last thing I had to do before I could truly move forward. September 2024, 6 months after the verdict. I had survived, but I wasn't sure I had lived. The drive to Raleigh took 4 hours. Linda had offered to come with me, but I declined. This was something I needed to do alone. The North Carolina Correctional Institution for Women sat on 30 acres in southeast Raleigh, a sprawling campus behind razor wire and concrete walls. I parked in the visitor lot, stared at the building, and wondered if I would regret this. Charlotte's letter had been clear. Forgive her, not for her sake, for yours. I signed in at the front desk, passed through the metal detector, and waited in a sterile visitation room divided by thick glass partitions. Inmates filed in one by one dressed in orange jumpsuits, and then I saw her. Tiffany looked older. Her hair had thinned. Her face was gaunt, hollow. She sat down on the other side of the glass and picked up the phone. I did the same. "Dad." Her voice cracked. I said nothing. "Thank you for coming," she whispered. "I didn't think you would." "I didn't think I would either." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I'm sorry. I know those words don't mean anything. I know I don't deserve—" "No, Aunt," I interrupted. "You don't—" She flinched. I took a breath. "Your mother asked me to forgive you. Not in so many words, but I knew what she meant. She believed people could change. She believed in second chances." Tiffany's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I believe that," I continued. "But I'm willing to try. For her. And for me. Because carrying hate around for the rest of my life will kill me just as surely as that poison did." "Dad, I forgive you," I said quietly. "But that doesn't mean I forget. And it doesn't mean you and I will ever be what we were. That's gone. You killed it when you put that powder in my coffee 17 times. She sobbed openly now. "If you get out of here in 30 years. I said, "If you survive that long and if you've really changed, go find Ivy. Be the aunt she deserves. But until then, I won't be coming back." "I understand," she whispered. I stood up. She pressed her hand against the glass. I looked at her hand, then at her face, and I walked away. I didn't look back. Ivy had been living with me for 3 months. The courts had granted me full custody. Derek's parents had tried to contest it, but the judge ruled that no one with ties to the perpetrators would raise Charlotte's granddaughter. Linda helped with the transition, So did a therapist who specialized in childhood trauma. Ivy was 5 years old now. She didn't fully understand what her mother had done, and I intended to keep it that way for as long as possible. All she knew was that Mommy and Derek had made bad choices and couldn't be with us anymore. Grandma Charlotte was in heaven, and Grandpa Doug was here. Every morning we ate breakfast together. I made scrambled eggs and toast, and she insisted on orange juice with no bits. Afterward, I walked her to the bus stop and watched until the yellow bus turned the corner. Then I went to my workshop. I had rebuilt it after the trial. New shelves, new tools, new wood. The space no longer smelled like betrayal. It smelled like pine and varnish and hope. I was building a rocking chair for Ivy, something she could keep forever, something her grandmother would have loved. Some afternoons, Ivy came into the workshop with me. I taught her how to sand wood, how to feel the grain, how to be patient. She was a quick learner. She had Charlotte's focus. At night, I read to her. Sometimes she asked about her grandmother. I told her stories. The time Charlotte caught a fish bigger than her head. The time she sang karaoke at a wedding and brought the house down. The time she stayed up all night baking cookies for a neighbor who had lost her husband. Ivy listened with wide eyes. "Yeah, Grandma sounds like a superhero." "She was," I said, and then I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and whispered the words Charlotte used to say. "Char, you are my sunshine." On Saturdays, Ivy and I visited the cemetery. Charlotte's grave was in a quiet corner beneath an oak tree. The headstone was simple: Charlotte Ann Callahan, 1951 to 2024. Beloved wife, mother, grandmother. You are my sunshine. Ivy placed a bouquet of wildflowers on the grave. I knelt beside her. "Hi, Grandma," Ivy said softly. "Grandpa says you're watching us." "Is that true?" I smiled through the ache in my chest. "She's watching, and she's proud of you." Ivy looked up at me. "Are you sad, Grandpa?" "Sometimes," I admitted. "But I'm also grateful, because she gave me you." Ivy hugged me. I held her tight and closed my eyes. Charlotte had saved us both. She had endured months of poisoning to gather evidence. She had written letters and made plans and sacrificed her own life so that justice could be served. She had trusted Linda and Dom and me to finish what she started. And we had. "Grandpa," Ivy asked. "Yeah. Can we get ice cream after?" I laughed. It was the first real laugh I'd had in months. "Yeah, kiddo. We can get ice cream." We drove to the ice cream shop on Main Street. Ivy ordered strawberry with rainbow sprinkles. I ordered vanilla, simple, like Charlotte used to. We sat outside on a bench watching people walk by. Families, couples, strangers living their ordinary lives. And for the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. 6 months after the verdict, I was still healing. The scars, physical and emotional, would never fully disappear, but I was learning to live with them. Tiffany and Derek would spend the rest of their lives in prison. Justice had been served. But more importantly, Ivy was safe. She was loved. She had a future. Charlotte's legacy wasn't her death. It was the life she had protected. And as long as I was breathing, I would make sure that legacy lived on. I would raise Ivy with the same love Charlotte had shown me. I would teach her strength, kindness, and forgiveness. I would tell her stories about the woman who saved us both. And every June, when the roses bloomed in the garden, I would remember Charlotte's words, "I'm still with you." She was. She always would be. And to you listening to this story, remember this: I stood at the edge of death 17 times because I loved without question. I trusted without boundaries. And I nearly lost everything, including my life, because I believed family loyalty meant blind faith. God gave us discernment for a reason. When Charlotte whispered, "Don't trust our daughter," in her final days, I dismissed it as delirium. I ignored the signs. I chose comfort over caution, and that nearly destroyed us both. Family betrayal doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It creeps in quietly disguised as care, as concern, as coffee made the way Mom used to. Grandpa stories like mine aren't meant to entertain, they're meant to warn you. Family betrayal can come from the people you raised, the ones you sacrificed, for the ones you loved most. And Grandpa stories passed down through generations teach us this love fiercely, but never blindly. Don't be like me. Don't wait for poison to prove your instincts were right. God doesn't call us to be fools in the name of love. He calls us to be wise to protect the innocent, to seek justice tempered with mercy. I forgave Tiffany not because she earned it, but because carrying hatred would have killed me faster than thallium ever could. If this grandpa story resonates with you, if you've felt the sting of family betrayal or the weight of impossible forgiveness, leave a comment below. Share your own experience, or simply let me know you were here. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And if this story moved, you share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for walking this journey with me to the very end. Please note, the stories that follow may contain fictionalized elements crafted for educational purposes. If this content isn't for you, feel free to explore other videos that better suit your preferences.